Those of you on the public side will recognize the statement that says ensuring your program does not encourage excessive risk-taking by plan participants. Why? Because the SEC 2 years ago made it a requirement that you need to go through a risk assessment analysis of your comp programs. Well, I'll tell you that the public companies that have to abide by this, private companies, and you'll see in my example, talk about how risk applies to you just as well. Typical risky features. First example is going to be leasing professionals. Most of us have leasing people in-house. A lot of times what's very popular is based on having an incentive on vacancy rates. Something that says my bonus, whether it's a commission, a traditional bonus, depends on how much I can fill up of my property. Implications. Employees are incentivized to lease space without regard for the fact of rent levels. So what can possibly happen? Well, if I have the ability to control it, and you're telling me all you want to do is get it 100% lease, 98% lease, whatever it might be, what if I throw in a free month or so of rent? What if I have the ability to lower the rent terms a little bit? But if I touch the rates part of it, that's obviously going to have a direct impact on my occupancy. Now, we all know if at an extreme, let's say I could lower the rents by 20% to get 100% occupancy, that's not a good thing. In some cases, you might need to have a high percent of occupancy if you've got some kind of mortgage contingency, but let's put that aside. So some things that you can do, of course, is to have some kind of counterbalancing metric in place, where it's not just about occupancy, but it's also about the average lease rate. One thing that's really interesting that I don't really see an equivalent for in this industry in the exact same way that hotels do it, but hotels use RevPAR. For those that don't know, RevPAR is revenue per available room. And it's what they report. It's the one thing that hotel companies, when you're out there, it's basically, is it better to have a $300 a night fully leased up hotel, or maybe 80% leased at a $400 rate? At some point, there's a break even. But you combine the two together in looking at things. And so a RevPAR-like goal that balances the two mitigates just using occupancy as the only metric. I'm going to skip the executive plan for a moment because in a similar way, we're going to go to the bottom. It talks about transactions professionals. Very common. If you have someone that's doing acquisitions, dispositions, they get paid a fee to get deals done. We want you to do $200 million of volume, $300 million. We want you to invest $100 million in a certain market versus the fact that those could be bad deals. A lot of times you get paid a number of basis points, transactions professionals, on the deal itself. You might get a flat fee for doing dispositions. There's a lot of different ways that people do it, but it's largely been a volume metric. How many people in this room rather have someone that does $500 million of bad deals versus someone that does no bad deals? I didn't think so. So the point is, you don't want to incent people to do deals because they could be bad deals. Now you might say, well, but Jeremy, a lot of times we've got certain investment parameters that we need to look at, and so you're talking crazy here. Trust me, there's ways around when you incent a transaction person to do something, they'll find a way to get the deal done. Now, that might not fit your parameters. Now, the thing that you want to focus on, what are some fixes for this? If you were to incent somebody to do a deal, but let's say, for example, you only paid out half of that bonus for doing the deal after it closes, and you hold back the other half a year from now, 18 months from now. Let's see how that deal's performed. If what you underwrote actually worked, you get it. Good. However, if it's not working out, then you're not going to get it. You can also do things where, how many deals did I bring to the table? I'm a transactions person, so it doesn't matter how senior or junior you are. I looked at 30 deals, and of those 30, 25 didn't fit our parameters, and here's why. But here's 5 that did. Now, maybe someone up above decided that we don't want to pull the trigger, it's not right, and so that's out of my control. But I presented the deal to you, we all thought it was good. So there's different ways to think about using discretion as well when designing these programs for transactions people.